Okay, so what are they giving you in the problem? They are telling you the dividend, the quarter dividend is $1, stock value is 60, the retention rate is 70%, and the annual discount rate is 16%, right? So first write down the things that they are giving you so you remember everything you have. You know from the formulas that the stock value is the dividend in the next quarter divided by the discount rate minus the growth, right? So just keep that in mind. We are going to use that later. First, as I don't know if you remember, but normally dividends come quarterly, so everything you are going to do, it has to be quarterly. So the annual discount rate that you have has to be passed to quarterly discount rate. So that's basically why we do this formulation. So 1 plus the quarterly discount rate raised to the power of 4, it's equal to 1 plus R, the annual rate. We know the annual rate, which is 16%, it was right here, right? So the thing we have to find out is the quarter rate. We just, find out the quarterly rate here. The final result is 3.78%. You know, well, you have to pass this to the other side. It's like having a square, like, okay, let's do it fast. Quarter rate is equal to 1 plus 16%. All these in I don't know how to call it, but you understand me, and minus 1, right? Then, well, you find out the quarterly discount rate, which is 3.78. Then, keep that in mind. That's our first equation, our first number. Then, we know that dividend in the next period is going to be the dividend in this period times 1 plus the growth. So, the dividend that we have in this period, growth for one quarterly period, right? And we have the dividend in this period is 1. So we know then that the dividend in the next period is going to be 1 times 1 plus the growth, but we don't have the growth, right? That's something that we have that is not given in the problem. Keep that there. Now we have the stock value. We know it is 60. Stock value is equal to dividend in the next period divided by the discount rate, the quarterly discount rate minus the quarter growth rate. Stock value is 60. We know that the dividend in the next period is 1. It's right here. It's right here. It's 1 times 1 plus the growth. And we also have the quarterly discount rate, we just found it, is 3.78 minus the growth. So if you see in this formula, now the only thing that we don't know is the growth. In this case, we do have the stock price, but we don't know how much the growth is. So what we have to do is just to do some algebra here to find out what the growth is. Doing the algebra and doing it right here, you get to this value. So now you know that the quarterly growth rate is 2.079%, right? Now, keep that again in mind. Next part. Now we have the growth, the quarterly growth rate, but we need the annual growth rate. Because what we are trying to find at the end is the return on equity. So for that, the return on equity is something that is annual. You always calculate the annual return on equity. So we need to have now everything annual again. So plugging the quarterly growth here, right? Passing this one to the other side, doing some algebra, we can calculate the annual growth rate, which is gonna be 8.58, right? And now let's go to the other formulation that the other formula that we know. The annual growth is equal to the retention ratio times the return on equity. retention ratio is also given. It was right here, 70%. So we just know that the annual growth is 8.58. We just found it here. We just calculated it here. We have the retention ratio, which is 70%, and what are we missing? The return on equity. So now we have only missing the return on equity, and we do some algebra, and we find out that the return on equity is 12.255. So, like, the two basic formulas that you are always using here are the one of the stock price is equal to the dividend in the next period divided by the discount rate, the quarterly discount rate minus the quarterly growth. And the other one you always use is that the annual growth rate is equal to the retention ratio times ROE. And whatever they are asking you always, you gotta know what exactly they are giving you and what you are missing, and then find out like what you need to do first. But remember, here in the stock price and the dividend and the discount rate and the growth, you are talking about quarterly discount rates and quarterly dividend, and here you are talking about annuities. So the annual growth rate, the retention ratio, and the ROE.